I would argue that Zohran Mamdani in New York, we talked about him on the last podcast and one before. He also reminds me of Obama in many ways because he's very well spoken.
Okay.
And even when he's put on the spot, so one of the things I would say he's better at this than even Obama and Trump, when he's asked questions like, how come you seem to support the Intifada and stuff like that, that are really edgy, direct questions that make him look bad, instead of being a typical politician where he doesn't, he's not looking around, looking down, struggling with his answer. His comebacks are so quick. And by the way, I don't necessarily agree with him, but when he gives the answer, you're like, yeah, oh yeah, that makes sense. That really makes sense.
Well, he has an advantage that they're really not analyzing. First of all, he's generally a zillion times smarter than the person asking the questions.
Oh, for sure.
It's just I mean, a zillion times.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
But usually the guy who's a zillion times more intelligent, his delivery is wrong.
Yep.
His rapper background and being with the people and in the streets, he's quick-witted. He can give you quick sound bites that answer the question or don't answer the question.
Yep.
So he has the advantage of being on both sides of the fence.
Yes, and I feel like that and that's why I say he's similar to like a Trump, because he is controlling the narrative. He's controlling the media. He knows how to use the media to his advantage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'd be on the lookout for him. And I said this back when Obama was running the first time. I said, I remember when he came and he spoke at the, I think it was the Democratic National Convention, when Obama came up to talk. I don't even remember who was running that year. And I go, watch that guy. That guy is good. And sure enough, history was made, right? I mean,
so if you had to predict now, is he going to be the mayor of New York?
That's a hard one, Phil. I don't know. I mean,
I say no.
Most people, unfortunately, I mean, unless he can bullshit his way, unless he's so good at it, most people don't want a basic socialist. Most people in America, including most liberals that I know, are pretty afraid of some of the ideas that he says. He's also running in, one of the largest Jewish cities in the world. And he cannot say anything to support Israel ever. And he cannot come out and answer that question, because he was asked by, quite frankly, for some very liberal media, he was asked, about what he meant by some of his statements about the Intifada, and he won't go back on it. So to me, that's a non-starter. So I don't know. Obviously, I don't know if you've listened to any of his interviews, but it sounds like he's running for president. It doesn't sound like he's running for the mayor of New York, because
that was going to be my. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, he's talking in big generalizations. He's always very good to mention, I'm always looking out for my New Yorkers, blah, 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 blah. He always goes to that. He always says that. However, his policy statements are federal. He's always talking on a grander scale, even maybe grander than the United States, just in world politics in general. So I think that puts him against Trump. And I think Trump will eat his lunch.
Well, that led to my next talking point about him, Mike. I think something's going to come up. They're gonna create some kind of excuse for his loss. I think he's gonna lose because there's just too high a percentage of not just the Jewish community. I lived in New York. You have everybody living there, and there are a lot of other people for other political, regional reasons
Oh
that
yeah,
will have a disdain for him.
yeah.
Uh, and then when you listen to his words, like you were saying, I'm like, they need to get him out of this mayoral election without any wounds. And I think he would actually do much better running for
Mhm.
president. A
Agreed.
lot of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
things that he says for the city of New York are going to be analyzed far more than those same statements if they're applied to the whole United States. I think he would have a lot of people liking him.
I agree. I just think that the problem is that he's so far from what I would consider to be our stereotypical politics in America, from both the liberal, from the Democrats and from the conservative Republicans. I just
Well,
think that
well,
he is.
liberals are trying to get back their base, which was poor and middle class. And
Yeah,
I think he's the only one who I've heard the other ones talk about the poor and the middle class, but he's the only one that's saying things that poor and middle class romanticize. You
yes,
still have poor and middle class who romanticize the idea of socialism, the idea that
yep.
everybody gets paid the same. And so a lot of things that we're thinking about make him look crazy. There's a large demographic of people who deep down in their heart have socialist ideas in their mind.
I agree to some extent, but you also got to remember that we are a land of a lot of immigrants, particularly in New York City. And immigrants, by definition, a lot of them have come from socialist or dictatorship kind of countries that they fleed, they're fleeing from, and they're coming to America for that American dream. And you got to remember that, I agree with you that there are people that are in that working class, lower income level. However, many of those people are also the dreamers. You can't forget, particularly immigrants, and they don't want to. When Mamdani says something like, there shouldn't be billionaires. That poor guy that came from Kenya. One of the reasons he came to America was that he could become a billionaire.
I agree with that, but that same person you just described probably escaped a leader who did all types of atrocities and oppressed them who was a
Yep.
billionaire.
Yep.
So they also have an idea in their head of billionaire bad, even
Yep.
though they may want to be one.
Agreed. I think what my mom Donnie has going for him is that he's running against a criminal in the fact that, well, I mean, you've got Cuomo, who looks like he's going to run. You got Eric Adams, who is the mayor, who's going to run, and one could argue he's also a criminal. Um, and then you got some other flighty guys. What's the guy with the hat? There's a guy, I can't remember that guy's name. He's got the weird hat he always wears. I don't
I
know
don't
what
know
his.
his name. He's not
No,
gonna get a vote.
no, exactly. His mom might vote for him. I don't know.